Welcome again to the Guild Academy, where we are doing another gear review for Gear Review Monday. Once again, thanks for visiting the Guild Hall and me here to talk about gear. Alright, so our first up that we're going to be talking about is our fancy coats I was telling you about 2 weeks ago now that this day is posted. The first things that we're going to talk about is my sleeveless Gambesons, which I ordered from Superior Fencer. Superior Fencer had excellent customer service. I won't name names, but they were very good at customer service. They were on Facebook, they were talking to me a lot, even though we were based in Pakistan, so they did a very good job with that. Their execution of our first round of Gambesons, not really sure. So in conjunction with their shirts, they get very hot, especially when we're wearing these heavy jackets. The shirts are meant to help keep us cool, so when we take the Gambesons off, we cool down, so that it's a dry fit shirt. That's why they're used in conjunction, so that's why we did the shirts first. So my sleeveless Gambeson was special ordered from Superior Fencer. As you can see, no arms on here. Now I use this mainly when I'm doing rapier fencing or side sword, things of that nature. It's got a tall enough collar here that allows for the gorget, which we'll talk about, the gorget and the helmet, the back head protection later on, pretty soon. But this allows for the protection of any of those strong thrusts. And you mainly use this in training. Now I use this for longsword training. I use this tonight, actually, when I was doing this, shooting at night. And when I was doing this, I was taking a lot of thrust to the chest from some of the largo that we were doing and some of those plays. And it really helped to take that. One of the modifications they have is this leather strap here. Now this leather strap is what came with it. These little silver bits are grommets that I hand put in place, because without that, these straps were ripping off of this actually, and they're not a heavy enough leather grade. This is why our first round of Gambesons were a little bit questionable. So the straps were a little bit weak, so I added these grommets, which helped keep the tearing to a minimum. They're pretty strong here, and the logo is done very well. They're also amazing at being able to match almost color to color, but the problem you'll see is that this is a little bit faded. This has been in the sun a little bit, and they aren't fans of sun, I've noticed, at least in the first round. So this is my custom Gambeson, has our logo, they did a great job of that. They have an inner lining which could be a little bit stronger, and the fading does happen a little bit, but the color is great, and I use this fairly frequently now that we have a little bit higher caliber fencer. So moving on to our next Gambeson, we will talk about my other Gambesons here. My first order that I had is these guys. Now you'll see a lot of fading here. Now these were half in the sun during one of our festivals, and this was only a couple days, but this faded really rapidly, and frankly shouldn't have. Their dye job was, I'm not sure why it didn't keep, but that was one of the problems. The other problem we have is that these buckles don't stay in place. They bend, they twist, they tear. They aren't what we need to keep this leather strap in place. Again, this leather strap is a very low ounce, meaning it's a low weight. And that means it's very thin, so it's prone to stretching. I'm not sure, but this needs to be 9-10 ounce, like saddle leather or latigo. Again, we see a really solid logo. What we didn't know is that these are not made for HEMA. They do work for HEMA, but they were not made for that express purpose. So you have a little bit less gusseting, which is this part of the arm here that allows for this to raise up. We needed a little more. And the other thing that this doesn't have is that the shoulder width from here to here is too short. On my neck, it's about this long, okay? On this Gambeson, it's this long. So my neck is this. The shoulder on the Gambeson is this. So you're seeing a problem with where the arm is placed for this Gambeson. The color again is fading. We're seeing some tearing. The very first time that we had these, actually, we saw a rip in a shoulder from the custom size that we had, and that wasn't super great. We see fading in these, so we weren't really confident in our next order, but for benefit of doubt, we decided to do it again, and we took another order. The lining is a little bit weak in here, and I will show you the next order here in a second, which is the Gambeson that I'm currently using. But this lining is a little bit too thin for the rigors of combat that we were using, and they're also missing some of the quilting that you'll see on my next Gambeson, which is our second order, which we also had some problems with, unfortunately. So, my next Gambeson is my personal Gambeson, and you'll see some pretty excellent things with this. Now, this looks a lot better. It has stayed closer to the dyed color. It hasn't done any fading, and this has been in the sun. Now, I've taken a little bit more care of this, and I've covered this in the sun. I've kept it out of the sun. It's been mostly in the guild hall. For the most part, this is what has kept it, I think, the dye job a lot better. But I think that it's also a little bit better with the dye job, too. The dye job's a little bit darker. We're not seeing as much wear. Unfortunately, what we're starting to see, we'll talk about the really good parts of this. So first off, you see here in the arm, you're seeing a little more quilting. This quilting is giving us a lot more fabric protection, and it's a lot thicker. You'll see some Gambesons that have protection in the arms, specifically some of the Absolute Forge jackets that you'll see. You'll also see that in the PBT ones as well. They have strips that go down the arm, and they run, they're about this wide, about yay long, and they run the forearm length all the way around. It gives you more protection. It's a hard foam, doesn't give you full protection. I know this from experience. In this, it doesn't have that, but it has a more strong quilting here. And that quilting has protected my forearms, and I've been struck there quite frequently, heavy blows, and it's really dispersed it very, very well. The padding is thinner in the elbow, so you have a better motion with the sword. It's a strike, so you get a better strike with this, and the elbow's built a little bit better. Unfortunately, there's a lot of force on this, and in the 6 months that I've owned this, almost 8 months, the arm is almost coming apart, and it's almost tearing off of the Gambesons in its entirety. I'm not using sharp swords, I'm using blunted steel. And we're seeing tearing already in these, and that's a really big concern. The next really good thing to do is that the shoulder is a lot wider, so there's actually not a seam here there's a much longer seam in the shoulder here. So it matches my dimensions, because I have this custom made. We make a custom made Gambeson, get it 2 inches bigger. You're gonna need it. Trust me, you're gonna need it. Every one of the Gambesons we ordered needed to have that. So 2 inches bigger in all of your measurements when you do a custom Gambeson. This Gambeson did very well, and I use it all the time. I'm probably going to be out of this Gambeson in 6 months because I will probably have shredded it to bits, and I don't think that in a year a Gambeson should be breaking down that fast. We see some of the other ones, the Axel Pedersen jackets tend to last a lot longer. For whatever reason, they have more history, more orders, not really quite sure, but you're seeing almost double the price. These guys were about 180 or so. And that's a pretty fair price. Now the shipping was pretty strong. It was almost as much to buy 2 Gambesons to ship them here, but their shipping was fantastic from Superior Fence. It took them 2 weeks to do a custom order and get them in. The other really interesting thing they did here is that they have the normal zipper closure. It also has Velcro for the up here in the neck, as well as down at the base to keep it together, and a solid zipper. Now they told me that they informed me actually that this zipper was industrial strength. Both zippers have broken on the 6 that we ordered. So 2 of 6, the zippers broke first day, just broke right off. They need to be steel. That's another big issue. One of the best things I see though is that you see this piece of fabric here. When this folds over, it gives you a much stronger thrust protection in the chest, which is great to have, especially against stiffer blades. That works out really great. You also see more stitching here at the base, much like the arms have. You'll see at the base here, you're going to have a lot more thick padding, which helps with protecting your hips and protecting those weaker joints. They had to switch my logo to the opposite side because of the way it folds over, but again, we're seeing a really solid logo. They did a great job on that. I appreciate their job. Their dye job was pretty accurate. Seems to be lasting longer. It's a darker, deeper blue than the others. They've had about the same amount of wear. I've added just a simple elbow pad to this that's articulated for more motion, and I'm not really sure what else I have on here, except you're seeing this belted strap, which is really a great thing to have, which cinches it down. My problem is that there's a couple bits of tearing here, and that's from the Velcro strap tearing the Gambeson itself, which is a problem. And so this belt needs to be either different material or leather or some sort of buckle system, but this is tearing the Gambeson, and that is some problems I see with that. The bigger collar is also going to fit our gorgets a lot better, and I really appreciate that taller collar, especially because we put the collar and put the gorget over it, and then our helmet on top of that for extreme throat protection for very obvious reasons. And you'll see that when we do the review of the swords. You're seeing better gusseting also underneath the arms. It's a lot more, so meaning that you're going to be getting a lot better gusset here, which means you have a lot better movement up and down when you're moving the arm. So holding window, holding ox, all of those help a lot hold a lot better. I can take those guards a lot easier. Same thing with Schlüssel from the German guards. I really like this Gambeson and the way it fits. I'm a little concerned about how much wear it's already had. I've done plenty of combat in this, but I don't think that it should be wearing this hard. Also, try and find a dry cleaner. The dry cleaners that we have can take care of this. They don't really do so well with the leather. We managed to find something that did that, so before you order Gambesons, make sure you can find a dry cleaner that can handle it. So other things that would be really great for these is to have a care label. There is no care label in these, so we're just taking a risk. We didn't really know how to clean them, and so we went to the dry cleaner. They said, we have no idea how to clean them. We've been through 7 dry cleaners. We finally found one that works, and we cleaned all of these, and we do that quarterly. So every 3 months we go through our Gambesons and have them washed in the dry cleaner and that kind of thing. And it's a fairly nominal price, and it's really good to keep the club gear in good condition. So Superior Fencer did an excellent job. We had another Gambeson maker from India that we had, much thinner Gambeson, didn't rip as much as these, shockingly, and they're actually still in service down in our South branch, and they are still used. The leather buckles, however, have ripped off at this point, but they've been in service for 3.5 years. And they're white, so we don't have any dye job problems with that. We did have a problem getting the correct color from them, so either white or black from India. If you're going to order from the ones on eBay, you know exactly which ones I'm talking about. They do work. They're going to sting a lot more. You're going to want forearm protection, elbow protection, absolutely, and possibly even chest protection for that. I tend to like lesser gear. It's enough to keep the, extreme damage down, but it's enough to it's low enough that it will allow you to feel more of the blows and impact. This makes me kind of feel like a robot, but I do like this because I do a lot of sparring, and that's a really helpful thing to have that protection. So Absolute Force has done some amazing things. We're not sure exactly what our next order is going to be or who it's going to be through yet. We have a lot more people in the guild now, and so we have more people that are going to need Gambesons. And just from what we've seen here, we've put quite a bit of money into Superior Fencer's Gambesons for our school, our academy here in Colorado, and we're seeing some serious discrepancies with the quality of this Gambeson. Again, they have great stuff, and they've done some really great things, and other groups have really liked what they have done. Superior Fencer maybe has fixed some of this problems, and they've come across these, or who knows, there could be a myriad of reasons why this particular batch didn't work, but I wouldn't rule them out entirely. Superior Fencer, again, great customer service. They only take Western Union, they don't take PayPal. That's something to keep in mind. So remember, you're going to need either a US Forex account or something of that nature to pay for it if you want to skip over that. But they do take Western Union, which is great. And that was way easy. They got the money quick, they shipped it quick, they got the dye job well done, and they have the logos done correctly. So great job, Superior Fencer, on that. So don't rule them out. Try them out, see them if you like them. A lot of groups are really happy with them throughout the US. And we'll give you an update if we get any new Gambesons, and we'll get ready for next week's video to record that as well. I think next we're going to be doing our throat protection and our helmet, or it might be the sword review from the BB sword shop that we had reviewed last week. And we might see that because we've had some interesting experience with those, very positive overall, and I want to make some comments on how those blades have functioned for us. Now, obviously, I'm not going to be wearing any of this for parkour. This is all just sword fighting equipment. Same thing with swords. You're not going to be running around with swords and parkour. It's just going to end very badly. So, check out Superior Fencer. I'll put their link down below in the description. I'll also put a link over to eBay and the account for India that they have from eBay, and so you can kind of check those out too. You can get those sometimes for $50. And that's a great way to get started. It's good to start looking at a custom-sized Gambeson for yourself because it's going to be very useful in the long run. You might want to invest in a little bit more expensive Gambeson so it wears a lot longer than a lot shorter, because if you're always in and out of Gambesons, $200 a year is not worth it. Even $200 every 2 years isn't worth it. When you're paying $300 and you're getting 4 or 5 years out of it, that might be worth the upgrade. But for a starting group, then you're going to be wanting looking at like the India stuff. It's enough to keep you safe enough to do some basic sparring kind of things, and eventually you can move into something like Superior Fencer or Axel Pedersen jackets or the Spec jackets, something along those lines. I am going to be doing an order from Naaman for my Gambeson probably next year, so when I get that, eventually, hoping the channel continues on, we will also be getting the review of Naaman. Thanks again for watching the channel. We will be back next week with another video. Not sure, it's either going to be swords, helmets, don't know. You'll have to see when that happens. If you have any comments, put them below. If you have any questions about our Gambesons or who we got them through, check us out on Facebook. Check us out, well, I guess we can do that on Facebook. We're also on Twitter, and we're also on, you can find me on Instagram, and you can find me on Tumblr as well. So you should go check those out, give us a like, and we'll talk to you next week. Thanks so much for watching.